Okay, here's something weird. Every chicken you eat came from a chicken family. But when you buy eggs at the supermarket, where are all the brothers? Because hens lay eggs. Roosters don't. And that creates a strange problem. A chicken farm needs female chickens to produce eggs, but roughly half of the chicks born are male. So what happens to all those male chickens? Do farmers raise them for meat? Do they become roosters? Do they just disappear? And why did humans build an entire food system where one sex of the animal became incredibly valuable, while the other became almost useless? The answer begins with one tiny biological difference, and it completely changed the chicken industry. First, there's an important distinction. Male chickens absolutely can be eaten. There's nothing about male chicken meat that makes it poisonous or inedible. Roosters have been eaten by humans for thousands of years. The real question is, why aren't male chickens commonly raised for meat in the same way as specialized meat chickens? And the answer comes down to economics. Because chickens are basically two different animals now. One type is bred for eggs, the other is bred for meat. They're both chickens. But humans have pushed their biology in completely different directions. Let's start with the egg chicken. A modern laying hen is an incredible biological machine. She can produce hundreds of eggs in a year. But here's the catch. A male chicken can't lay a single egg. That sounds obvious. But imagine what that means for a commercial egg farm. The farmer needs females, lots of them. A male chick doesn't produce eggs, and if you feed him for months, you're spending money on food without getting the product the farm was designed to produce. That's the first problem. But there's another. Male chicks from egg-laying breeds aren't particularly good meat chickens. They're usually smaller. They grow more slowly. And they don't convert feed into meat as efficiently as specialized broiler chickens. A modern broiler has been selectively bred for one thing: grow fast, very fast. These chickens can reach market weight in roughly 6 to 8 weeks. An egg-laying breed isn't built that way. It's built to produce eggs. So raising its male offspring for meat can be economically inefficient. And this is where humans made a strange decision. Instead of trying to make one chicken do everything, we created specialized chickens. One for eggs, one for meat. It's basically biological specialization. Think about a car factory. You could build one machine that makes 10 different products. Or you could build 10 machines, each optimized for one job. The second option is often much more efficient. That's exactly what happened with chickens. Now here's the part that surprises most people. The chicken you see on your plate isn't usually the same kind of chicken that laid your breakfast egg. Modern broiler chickens have been bred for rapid growth and large amounts of breast and thigh meat. Modern laying hens have been bred for extraordinary egg production. They're almost completely different agricultural tools. And that creates the male chick problem. Because when you're producing egg-laying hens, you don't need half the chicks. You need the females. The males are essentially a biological byproduct of producing the females. Historically, this problem was even simpler. Farmers kept some roosters because they needed them for breeding. A small flock might have one rooster for several hens. The extra males could be eaten, but modern commercial egg production works differently. Large-scale hatcheries produce enormous numbers of chicks. They don't need nearly as many males. So the question becomes, what can you actually do with them? And historically, one answer became unfortunately common. Male chicks were killed shortly after hatching. This is known as male chick culling. It's one of the most controversial consequences of modern egg production. The reason isn't that male chickens are useless animals. It's that the economics of the system make them difficult to use profitably. But humans eventually started looking for another solution. And this is where things get fascinating. What if you could determine whether an egg contains a male or female embryo before the chick actually hatches? Then you wouldn't have to hatch male chicks in the first place. Scientists develop technologies known as in-ovo sexing. These methods attempt to identify the sex of the developing embryo while it's still inside the egg. If the embryo is male, the egg can be removed before hatching. If it's female, it continues developing into a laying hen. It's basically trying to solve a biological problem with technology. But there's an even older solution. Just eat the males. And humans have done exactly that. Roosters are eaten in many cultures. In some places, older roosters are used in soups, broths, stews, and slow-cooked dishes. Their meat can be tougher because they're older and more active. But that doesn't make it bad. It simply means you cook it differently. A young male chicken can also be raised as meat. The problem is efficiency. If you're operating a huge commercial system designed to produce inexpensive chicken meat, you don't necessarily want an egg breed male. You want a broiler. And the broiler industry has spent decades breeding chickens specifically for rapid meat production. That's why your typical supermarket chicken is usually not a rooster from an egg farm. It's a specialized meat bird. Now here's the strange part. Humans didn't originally create chickens for meat. The earliest domesticated chickens were probably valued for multiple reasons: eggs, meat, fighting, feathers, status, and even religious or cultural purposes. Roosters were sometimes extremely valuable. In some societies, the rooster wasn't something you ate. It was something you admired. Its crowing announced the morning. Its behavior became associated with courage, aggression, and status. Cockfighting also became widespread in various cultures. So, historically, male chickens absolutely had value. The modern problem appeared when agriculture became industrialized. Once farms started producing millions and eventually billions of chickens, every unnecessary animal became a cost: food, space, labor, housing, transportation. The economics became brutal. A male chick from an egg-laying breed can't produce eggs. And it isn't an efficient meat bird. So the industry asks a very simple question: what is the cheapest way to produce the female chickens we actually need? And that question created one of the strangest situations in modern agriculture. A perfectly healthy animal can become economically worthless simply because it was born male. That's not biology deciding its value. That's the production system. And there's an important lesson here. Humans have done this with animals for thousands of years. We don't just domesticate species, we reshape them. We decide which traits are valuable. Then we breed those traits again and again. Eventually, the animal itself changes. The modern chicken is a perfect example. A wild jungle bird became an egg-producing machine. Another population became a meat-producing machine. And somewhere along the way, the male offspring of one became a problem. So, why don't we eat male chickens? The simplest answer is, we sometimes do. But in modern egg production, most male chicks aren't raised for meat because they're from breeds optimized for laying eggs, not growing large amounts of meat efficiently. The industry doesn't need them for eggs, and raising them as meat birds is generally less economical than raising specialized broiler chickens. So the male chicken didn't become food because it was inedible. It became uncommon because humans optimized the entire system around efficiency. And that leaves us with something pretty strange. The chicken in your refrigerator, the chicken in your breakfast, and the chicken in a farmyard may all be the same species, but after thousands of years of human selection, they're no longer doing the same job. We took one bird and turned it into an egg machine, a meat machine, a breeding animal, and a farmyard alarm clock. And the male chicken? He ended up caught in the middle of the system humans built around his sisters.